Since the release of the Chambers of Xeric, players have been trying different challenges to push the boundaries of what's possible and to see who can really make the claim to being the best raider in old school RuneScape. Things like solo raids, which have now been mastered. Things like mass scaled raids, which have now been mastered. Mass scaled solo raids, which have now been mastered. But with the release of Challenge Mode Chambers of Xeric on the 17th of May 2018, new challenges arose. Those that had previously mastered the Chambers had to relearn everything, because everything had changed. To this day, almost every single Challenge Mode challenge has been completed. But there's one that remains elusive. The 100-man scaled, deathless Challenge Mode raid, and that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. But before we jump into the video, a quick word from our sponsor. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Mr. Sit in my gaming chair 15 hours a day, never leave the house. I'm talking to you. Remember last time you went to see a girl and she went down on you and she gagged and you thought, damn, my dick must be huge. It wasn't because your dick was huge. It's because your balls smell like shit. Now listen, guys. If you're anything like me, I know when I'm sitting down gaming all day, things can get pretty smelly and pretty untamed down there. And that's why today, the video is sponsored by Manscaped. Now, I'm lucky enough to have been one of the first to receive the new Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0, which is water resistant and has an LED light for when you're shaving your nuts. And when I say this shit works, trust me, this shit works. Have a look. Hey, sweetie. I just used the new Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0 to shave my nuts.
So?
Well, you know. You want to,
You can do what you want with your balls, love. I'm still not sucking your dick.
Oh, but in all seriousness, guys, it's important to make your balls look good, because when your balls look good, you feel good. And when your balls feel good, people might feel them. And I don't know about you, but I like it when my missus feels my balls. Excuse me, I'm getting a call. Hey, Jack, what's going on, mate?
Man, I'm doing alright, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, man. I'm just filming a Manscaped advert at the moment.
Oh, yeah. I've actually, you left the Lawnmower 3.0 on the bench earlier, and I thought, you know what? I want to treat myself. Looks pretty good, so I gave it a little go. Look at the job it's done, mate. Look at the job. It looks amazing.
You shaved your face?
Yeah.
You shaved your face with my ball trimmer?
Ball trimmer.
So guys, don't rock up to your next booty call with a hairy nutsack. Head down to the link in the description or on screen right now and use code EVSCAPE at the checkout to get 20% off your order and free shipping. Once again, thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring today's video. Manscaped, refining the gentleman. So, for those that are unaware, a challenge mode raid consists of every possible room in a regular raid done all in the same one. Which means if you want to complete a challenge mode raid, you have to take down Techton, Crabs, Ice Demon, Lizardman Shamans, Vanguards, Thieving, Vespula, Tightrope, Guardians, Vassa, Mystics, Muddadials, and the Ohm. Those that manage to complete the challenge mode raids within the set time for completion required to have a chance at receiving a Metamorphic Dust or a Twisted Ancestral Recolor Kit. Many months ago, a group of RuneScape gamers decided they wanted to take on the biggest challenge in Chambers of Xeric history. A 100-man scaled challenge mode raid with 0 deaths. Now, I'm sure there's some people out there thinking, because I was thinking the exact same thing. EVScape, why wouldn't you just get 100 of the best raiders, put them in together, and job's done? Well, I was quickly put in my place when I realized that Ohm can hit over 100. So in essence, these gamers had to set out to solve every single room in challenge mode raids and make them foolproof. Mistakes happen in raids, and these raids take over 3 hours to complete every single time, and they can only get enough raiders together once a week at best. So in order to maximize their chance of completion, they need to make every room as easy as possible. Today, we're going to be looking at their solutions. Okay guys, first things first, before we jump in, I want to give a massive shout out to the Mega Scale Discord and the team over there, these guys that put these raids together. I'm going to leave a link to the Mega Scale Discord in the description. If you guys want to get involved in these raids, click on that link, join the Discord, and you guys can apply for a role in these raids. Big shout out to those guys, not only for letting me come along to a raid, but also the following week when they allowed me to just leech off one of the raids and get clips for my YouTube video. So big up to those guys. Like I said, links will be in the description. And second of all, before we jump in, a massive thank you to you guys for voting for me in the nominations for the Golden Gnomes this year. We managed to get nominated for Video of the Year for the Battle Royale, so thank you guys so much for that. But they were just the nominations. If you guys do think the Battle Royale was the best Video of the Year, once again, I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can vote on the winner of the Golden Gnome. I would greatly appreciate that, guys. So all links in the description. Let's go ahead and jump on into the raid. The first room in a challenge mode raid is Techton. Originally a human, he was granted immortality by Xeric, who placed his mind in a new, indestructible body, enchanting his anvil and teaching him how to repair his new body. In a 100-man challenge mode raid, Techton can one-hit players even through their melee prayer. So in order to prevent any mistakes from any of the raiders, the creators of the 100-man challenge mode raid had to come up with a creative solution. And in their raids, they turned this mighty, gargantuan monster into a fucking chicken. To start with, one of the raid leaders will lure Techton towards the door to minimize the chance that somebody accidentally wakes him up walking in. Few players that were specified with the Dragon Warhammer role will spec him with their DWH. This will take his defense down to close to 0. And after that, the rest of the raiders will jump on in with their Arclight specs. For those unaware, a successful Arclight spec will lower Techton's defense, attack, and strength levels by 5%. And with enough of these special attacks, they'll take Techton's attack and strength statistics down to 0, making this once mighty monster akin to a chicken. After that, it's fair game for all the raiders. Smites up because he can't hit you anyway, and they take him down. Now, unfortunately, in the raid that I went to, the Techton lure was a fail, so everyone ended up dying in the first 2 minutes of the raid and we had to reset. And I forgot to record the second time we went in. Luckily enough, I came back the following week and got some B-roll, so let's have a look at that. So as you can see, everyone stood on a tile just south of the raid leader Hi-Yo there. He's potting up, everyone's potting up. He's going to go in and lure the boss, and it's going to be aggro to him, and as soon as it's aggro to him, the Dragon Warhammers can run in, the boss spawns in, all the Dragon Warhammers go in, all the Arclights go in, and after that, one of the players will stat spy Techton, and as you can see, it's a chicken now. It can't hit anyone. Zeros, non-stop, people can put their smites up, it doesn't matter, and all they have to do is take it down. Unfortunately, the render distance in old school RuneScape prevented me from being able to see the actual kill, and it kind of just looks like everyone's scything nothing, but trust me, they killed it. The crab room is no different to any other raid. Just get enough of the crabs out of the way and 3 players can complete it easily. Like the previous puzzle room, the crab room, the Ice Demon room is also another relatively simple one. All players cut 4 inventories of kindling and then things get lit. Once the demon is about to come out, one designated tank will stand on one side of the room, taking all of Ice Demon's attacks, which are easily avoidable. Everyone else in the raid will stand on the other side of the room in a safe spot, where the Ice Demon can't even see them. And from there, it's simply just T-bowing down, the boss. So yeah, as I explained in the B-roll there, one player on the other side of the room, and I just have to sit here hurling twisted bow arrows at the boss because someone's tanking it for us. Addy on the other side there, and he's full Justice Shah, just avoiding all the hits. I mean, it's pretty simple. And then, yeah, we kind of just take it down, and it dies. The next challenge room is the Lizardman Shaman room. Now, whilst you think the surface Lizardman Shamans can pack quite a punch, they've got nothing on a 100-man scaled challenge mode raid Lizardman Shaman, who once again, like Techton, can easily one-hit a player with a single attack. Things are a little bit more complicated for the Lizardman Shaman room. One designated player will enter the room in full Shazian armor to avoid taking any poison damage. Since the shamans can't hit through prayer, they'll pray range and take the aggro of every single shaman in the room until every shaman is in the northeast corner. That's when all of the raiders enter the room. The raiders can hug the south wall without taking any aggro from any of the shamans, and once they're there, the designated tank will run outside of the room, taking all of the shamans with them. Once all the shamans are caught on the northwest corner, another designated tank will go up to the northeast corner and take the aggro. This tank will only take the aggro of one shaman at a time. And once that shaman jumps to the northeast corner, the rest of the raiders can go to the southeast corner outside of aggro range and just T-bow the boss down. Rinse and repeat this process for every shaman room, and once again, that's a solved room. Now, Lizardman Shamans, this was probably the first actually scary part of the raid. Everything else was pretty simple. Stand here, attack the boss, and nothing can go wrong. This one, you sort of have to, like I said in the B-roll, follow the leader. He's going to show you where to stand, and it's like, if one person fucks this up, pretty much everyone is likely to die and panic and just ruin the entire raid for anyone. We're only 20 minutes in, but, 50 or so people have taken time out of their day to complete this raid, and then another 50 people had to scale it for you, and you certainly don't want to be the person that messes up, let me tell you. And you just take everything super carefully here. But like I said, the creators of these raids have done an incredible job at coming up with all these strategies, and they do an even better job of explaining how to take everything as safely as possible. And they're good at what they do, let me tell you. And we just take the T-bows to the Lizardman Shamans, chuck the walk on, make sure we don't accidentally go too far. Pray ranged even though we don't have to, just in case, and we take them down. Now here's where things start to get very, very complicated. The Vanguard Room. The Vanguards were 3 elite commanders in Lord Zerek's army, and during a great losing battle of Karen, the Vanguard commanders fled the battle to save their own skins, returning and asking for forgiveness once Zerek took over Mount Quidamortem. Zerek gave them forgiveness in order to trick them into entering the caverns. It was there that Zerek melted all 3 men with lava, and once they'd been melted, with a simple magical wave of his hand, the Vanguards reformed into the shapes that you see them today. In a 100-man challenge mode raid, once again, these Vanguards can easily one-hit you off prayer. And that's why in this creative solution, all of the raiders will simply just stand where the Vanguard can't see them. As you can see from the picture of the Vanguard room on screen right now, any of the raiders can stand on any of those green tiles without ever taking the aggro of the Vanguard, without attacking it first. And that's where 2 designated tanks come in. Each of these tanks will take turns taking in a full inventory of brews and restores as well as combo food to tank the Vanguard's hits while everyone else attacks it without taking damage. It's up to the raid leader to make sure that nobody over damages the Vanguards. And as long as the tanks, who generally sit in full Justice Shah armor, as well as an armadillo switch for the Magic Vanguard, manage to combo eat their food properly, no one should die in this room. The tanks swap out between Vanguard phases and head back upstairs to restock their inventories. Once everybody's in place in the room, it's a simple matter of T-bowing down every single Vanguard for their over 13,000 hit points each. Once again, another very scary room, because if you fuck this up, it is very, very likely someone will die. maybe you're on full hit points, but if you get hit by the Mage Vanguard, it's not just going to hit you, it's going to hit everyone on the tile you're stood on, and that's a lot of people. But like I said in the last room, the raid leaders do a really good job of making sure everyone knows what they need to do, and they do a really good job of breaking it down into its most simple form to make sure that not many people can make mistakes. We're just going to have a quick listen in on their instructions for this Vanguard room.
Just go to hug the north wall. Okay. They won't attack you. Just make sure you go to, do this pattern and then go over here. Just hug the wall and you'll be okay. And come all the way down here.
If you have spare brew, get to full HP, please. Otherwise, Monka.
Ari, tag the mage.
I've got it.
Yeah.
Major.
AV one more tile. There we go. Make sure you have your bow equipped, or crossbow, and just attack the North Vanguard only.
So once everyone's in position, simple enough again. Everyone just make sure they're praying, even though we don't have to, just in case. And then we just T-bow down the boss and listen to the raid leader's call. He'll tell you when to get on and off the Vanguard, and everything's pretty simple from there. I'd hate to have the job of one of the tanks in this, because I believe the melee Vanguard, even through prayer, can hit 325, so up to 75 damage in one tick, which would be pretty scary. So they've got the important jobs here, and we kind of just get to kick back and hurl arrows at them. Each of these Vanguards has over 13,000 hit points as well, which is pretty fucking crazy. Like, that's a lot of damage you got to do to each Vanguard before you can move along. The next room is another puzzle room, and much like the previous puzzles, it has a very simple solution. In the Thieving Room, all you need to do is take the grubs out of the chest and put them inside the trough. That being said, players need to be wary of their low hit points, as the poison chests inside the Thieving Room do AoE damage. Not only do the creators of the 100-man challenge mode raid want to break the record of being the first to do so without a death, they're also looking to break point records, which is why inside the Thieving Room, everybody caps out points with overload doses. Now, a stupid man such as myself, I'm not even going to pretend to understand what that means. All I know is the raid leaders force everyone to stand here for 30 minutes, if not more, drinking nothing but overload doses every 5 minutes. And as you can see from the clips, doing that will gain the team over 300,000 points. Thieving Room, absolutely no different to a regular raid, just pick the grubs and put them in the trough, but the difference here is the capping of the overload points. What I think it is that each player in the raid has a specific amount of raid potion points that they can get. I believe it's 6 sips per player, and the overload gives the most amount of points per sip. So if everyone sips only overloads, that way they will cap out their raid potion points with overload points, which will give the team the maximum. I think that's how it works. Don't quote me on it. But as you can see from the last clip, we went into the Thieving Room at about 750,000 points, and we leave the Thieving Room on 1,070,000. So a lot of points just coming from sipping those overloads. After the Thieving Room, we move on to Vespula. Queen of the Abyssal Vespine, her life force is sustained by her connection to the Abyss. She's a parasitic wasp from the Abyss that Lord Xeric and his followers stumbled upon when they were trying to open a new dimensional tear. Unlike in a regular raid where players will simply take down the portal without attacking the boss at all, in a 100-man challenge mode raid, there simply wouldn't be enough DPS. That's why in this creative solution, the players will have to force Vespula out of her flying phase and onto the floor before attacking the portal. One player designated as the portal tagger will enter the room and start tagging the portal as you would in a regular raid. This is going to keep Vespula in the center of the room, and with players standing on these safe tiles, they can simply T-bow her down. She will rarely hit players, and even when she does through ranged prayers, her hits aren't very high. Once Vespula stops flying and hits the floor, the rest of the players can move forward and attack the portal, before she gets up and flies again. Once she's flying again and her hit points are restored, all players move back to the safe spots and continue attacking her. On the very rare chance that one of the grubs will actually be released from its cocoon and start healing the portal, there are 4 designated feeders just in case. After a few rotations between the flying and walking phase, the portal will go down and the boss will disappear. The big bug, Vespula. This room is the first room in the raid that you will actually take damage in as a raider, not as a tank. And that was particularly scary because, like I said, you really don't want to be the guy that dies in these raids, you know? These raids go once every fortnight. That's how long it takes to get enough people together to do these raids. And one death ruins it for everyone. So you definitely don't want to be that guy. It was a nerve-wracking and exciting experience to me, let me tell you. But like I said, everything is solved practically to the easiest possible form. So you can only take a limited amount of damage from Vespula. And as long as you keep your hit points high, you're absolutely fine. I was also doing this on UK ping as well, which for those that don't know is around 400 milliseconds for me here in Australia. So it was particularly nerve-wracking for me. But luckily enough, we managed to get the job done. And Bob's your uncle. Vespula goes down. Next up is the final puzzle room of the raid, the Tightrope Room. The Tightrope Room is very different to the other puzzle rooms. Within this room, both the mages and the rangers have extremely high hits. And when I say high, I mean high. The rangers can hit over 200, which means even through prayer, you can be one hit. That's why the creative solution in this room sees a designated tank in full Justiciar armor with a Din's Bulwark. With a full set of Justiciar armor and the Din's Bulwark, incoming damage from the ranged minions will be reduced by approximately 35%. This allows the designated tank to take all of the damage from each of the minions. The rest of the players in the raid can simply T-bow them down while they're being distracted. Tightrope, just another one of those rooms where someone's specifically there designed to tank all of the damage for you to make it as simple as possible. So just click the boss and AFK the rest of it. However, I will say this was a right click kind of room for me, because if you accidentally click on that tightrope and have the agility requirement, which I would hope I'd have being a maxed account, if you accidentally click on that tightrope, you're going across. You're getting attacked by 4 rangers and 4 mages. You're fucked. Luckily enough, didn't have that problem, and we take them all down. The next room is the Guardian Room. 2 stone statues stand between the players and moving forward in the raid. Once again, these Guardians pack a punch, and without the use of Protect from melee, players can once again be one hit. And that's why, once again, just like Techton, in this creative solution, the Guardians will become akin to a chicken. As was the same with Techton, some players will use their Dragon Warhammer specs before everyone starts launching their arc lights. And after a few special attacks, the Guardians' stats are 0, and players can simply just stand right next to them and attack them with a pickaxe. The Stone Guardians, another chicken room, which probably the most fun rooms in the raid. You expect these 100-man scaled monsters to be able to absolutely batter you, and just to be able to stand right next to a Guardian who, like in a solo raid, can hit you for like 30s and stuff, not be able to hit you at all, and like just absolutely take the piss, is hilarious. I really enjoyed doing the chicken rooms, as scary as they were going into them. Once the bosses have no stats, super fun to do. And Guardians, another easy one. The next boss is Vassa Mysterio. Once titled the High Priest of Zerek's army, he traveled deep into the caverns of Mount Quidamortum in search for power. Whilst examining some purple crystals he found in the cavern, he failed to detect a tremor in the cavern, and suddenly the roof gave way, pinning himself to the ground. During the moments of death, his essence flowed outwards, intersecting with the rocks and the fragments of crystal within them. He was able to control these rocks, turning into the Vassa Mysterio we know today. He returned to Lord Xeric, claiming that he was no longer the High Priest. The age of the priest was over, and that he was now a god. However, Xeric was able to bind Vassa Mysterio to 4 crystals within the cavern, which is why he's locked in the room that we battle him in today. The Vassa room has by far the most creative solution out of all of the rooms in the raid. A portion of the raiders will be given the Dragon Warhammer role, and the rest of the raiders will be given the BGS role. 2 leaders, known as the Bannermen, will stand in their positions on one side of the room, while Vassa is at the crystal on the other. One Bannerman is in charge of leading the Dragon Warhammers, and the other Bannerman is in charge of leading the BGSs. Everybody must stand at one side of the room with their run off, and once their Bannerman starts moving, that's when they can click on the boss. This ensures that all Dragon Warhammers go off before the BGSs do, which means it's more likely that the BGSs will do enough damage to take down Vassa's ranged level. This may need to be done more than one time, but after it's done enough times, Vassa will be once again a chicken. Its ranged hits can still hit between 5 and 6 without prayer, and its trample damage is not affected, so players must stay at high health. After each crystal, some players will have a Dragon Warhammer roll and some players will have a BGS roll. This is because the crystals restore Vassa's defense. Considering the fact that Vassa's mage level will be close to 0 for the entire fight, the T-bow is ineffective and blowpipe is much better damage per second. Now, whilst this room has a very low chance of death, it is the room that requires the most coordination between all the raiders. If it takes too long and the defense level gets too high again, it may not be possible to complete the boss and the raiders might have to leave and repeat the process over again. Now, obviously the guys that have set these raids up have done an incredible job at breaking down every single room into its most simple form and making everything as easy as possible, but this Vassa room has to be by far my favorite solution of all of them. Just stuff that you would never even think of, like a hammer spec before the BGS, 1 tick beforehand because the defense level comes up so quickly, having to follow the Bannermen so that you can simplify even the specs for everything, and then having to mix everyone up into 2 different groups of Dragon Warhammers and BGSs, and who's going to hammer the boss and who's going to hammer the crystal, and just how perfectly everything was organized. Vassa, by far my favorite room in the entire raid, and it was super fun to do this boss as well. Next up is the Skeletal Mystic Room. And once again, this room has a relatively simple solution. One player, the designated tank, will aggro a single mystic, stand back far enough that no other mystic can aggro them, while the rest of the raiders stand 1 to 2 tiles behind them in order to not grab the aggro. From there, it's Salve Amulets on, T-bows equipped, and everyone just ranges down the bosses. Mystics, another one of those rooms where someone's there to tank for you, so you don't have to worry about too much, which is great. Not too much to say about these, but what I will say is with the scaling of this raid, their magic level as well as the Salve Amulet EI, the max hit with the Twisted Bow and Dragon Arrows here is 104. And just have a look at all these XP drops. This has got to be some of the best range training in the game. It has to be. Absolutely insane to see all those XP drops. Just another really cool intricacy of these raids is how high the XP scales. But once again, another pretty simple room once you break it down. The final room before the final boss Olm is the Muttadile room. The Muttadile, originally a dog that was mutated by Lord Xeric and turned into a dog-crocodile hybrid. During the mutation process, he and the Houndmaster failed to realize that the Muttadile was in fact pregnant, and after the transformation is when she gave birth. This is why we see 2 Muttadiles in the room we fight in today. Much like Techton, Guardians, and Vassa, this boss will also become a chicken. However, it's a little bit more complicated. Since the Muttadiles attack with mage, melee, and range, anybody that enters the room can be one hit at any moment. That's why the designated lurer needs to go into the room and get the aggro of the Mutterdile whilst being outside of its attack range. Once the Mutterdile is aggroed on a player, it will remain aggroed on that player even if they leave the room until another player attacks it. Once another player attacks the Mutterdile, there's a small delay before it attacks, which allows that player to attack the Mutterdile, then leave the room, maintaining aggro. So in this room, one player gets the aggro, steps outside, another player who is the next designated lurer will step inside, everyone else will enter the room on a different square with either their Dragon Warhammer, Bandos Godsword, or Arclight Spec at the ready, depending on the stats of the Mutterdile at the time. The lurer will attack first, and one tick after the lurer attacks, everyone else can attack, and everyone leaves the room. No one is attacked, and the Mutterdile is now re-aggroed on the new lurer, and a third lurer can then move in, and everyone else can go back and spec again. Once the first Mutterdile becomes a chicken, players can enter the room and stand on these designated squares to not be attacked by the mother Mutterdile. Once the big Mutterdile comes out, everyone has to leave the room, and the chickening process is repeated over again. And once the boss is chickened, everyone can go in and go to town. Gee, that sounds pretty fucking bad, doesn't it? About 100 people going to town on a mum? Yeah. Maybe I should cut that. Mutterdile, the last room before Ulm. Once again here, another very creative solution. Something I obviously never would have thought of. The fact that the Mutterdile will stay aggroed on a person even if they're outside the room and not try and attack anyone. Like, how do they even figure these things out? But once that aggro's on, super easy to get the specs off, and we kind of had to wait around for a little bit because there just wasn't enough raiders or people there to help out with specs to get it down quick enough, because the range level of the Mutterdile is something like, it's over 1,000 in this 100-man challenge mode raid. But once again, once it was down, it is a chicken, and you smites up, we all hop in and take it down pretty easy. And it's time for the final challenge, the Ulm. The final room of the raid, the most difficult room to make foolproof. This is where mistakes can really, really cost the team. As in a 100-man challenge mode raid, Ulm can hit over 100. And since Ulm can attack with both ranged and mage, you can't 100% guarantee you'll get the correct prayer. Inside the Ulm room, there's 3 roles. Number 1, the mage. These players come in with practically a full inventory of brews, a couple of overloads, and some restores. These players will be in their full ranged gear with a few mage switches, and their job is to simply run the head at Ulm, which means they will go in between these squares here, avoiding any damage and attacking the mage hand. The second role is the melee hand. A small number of the most experienced raiders take this role. This role is only given to the best of the best because, as you can see from the footage here, these players need to attack the melee hand whilst also avoiding all damage from the head. They have to be tick perfect for the entire Ulm, which could potentially last upwards of 30 minutes. And the final role, only given to 2 players, is the tank. The tank will be boasting an impressive 542 range defensive bonus, and their job is to sit on one side of the room to make sure that the head will turn that side, whilst tanking a hit and running back over the other side to make sure that it turns back. These players have the most important role inside the Ulm room, because if they mess up just once, every single player in the raid is likely to be hit and potentially taken for over 100 damage. At the beginning of each phase, all players spec the melee hand with either a Dragon Warhammer or a BGS to make its defense go down to 0, before swiftly running to the middle of the Ulm room to avoid an auto attack. Now, since these tanks only have brews, despite the fact that they have the damage soaking ability of the Justiciar armor and the Din's Bulwark, they can still be hit for over 60 damage. If it gets to this point, some of the mages will have heal other in their inventory. Since they won't be attacked by the boss, it won't matter how low their hit points are, and they can use those hit points to heal the tanks. During the head phase, the tanks will stand on the sides of the room, and everyone in the middle with their twisted bows will take down the head and avoid all damage by running from side to side. When these raids end, oftentimes there'll be over 3 million points, which will give players a chance at triple loot. And that's it. That right there is the entire plan, the solution to the 100-man challenge mode raid. With that being said, even with every single room being solved, mistakes happen. Not everyone can play perfectly all of the time, and this challenge is still extremely difficult. So here we are outside the Ulm room, ready to take on the final challenge. These guys have been running the 100-man challenge mode raids for around 6 months, maybe even longer now. And this was only the 3rd time in their history they'd ever made it to Ulm deathless, which really heightened my nerves. This was my first raid and one of the first times that they had made it to Ulm deathless. So the pressure was truly on. The raid leaders were going through all of the instructions, everything that everyone needed to do. They made it super simple for everyone. And the most dangerous part of the Ulm room was the entrance. And they made it very, 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 very clear to everyone. You're extremely likely to take one hit when you walk in. You are extremely likely to take one auto attack. The number one most important thing that you have to do is make sure you don't take that second auto. You're almost guaranteed to get one, but if you do anything, if there's only one thing you do correctly, make sure you don't take a second auto attack when you walk into Ulm.
Don't take second hit, don't take second hit.
Officer 100.
Room.
Set.
53 defense.
Set. That's the one thing you can't do. That is the one thing you cannot do in a main skill.
So yeah, I took the second auto attack. As you could see, guys, I'm on UK ping, and man, I click fucking 4 business days before I want my character to walk, and it still doesn't manage to get there in time. Luckily enough, I was spamming my brew and managed to click it in the perfect time for a tick eat, so I managed to survive, but my co-raider next to me was not so lucky. And just like that, guys, a 3.5-hour raid, and in one fell swoop, it is over. The deathless run is dead. Obviously, these guys are still going for point records, so we continue the raid. Things don't go as well as planned, but we still managed to get a massive amount of points and a double drop at the end. Missed out on the triple. Just want to say a massive thank you to the guys that run these raids, Hi Yo and Atty. I'll leave a link to their Twitch accounts in the description if you guys want to check them out. And I'm also, like I said earlier, going to leave a link to the Mega Scale Discord in the description as well. If you guys want to get involved in these raids, they're always looking for new people to come along. All of the requirements are in the Discord. They're not crazy high requirements. If you just want to come along and help the raid go along faster, you don't even have to have a twisted bow, and any single person that comes along would be a massive help. I'm personally going to continue to do these, and I really hope to see a few of you guys there. With all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap up today's video. I do hope you did enjoy it. I had a great time along in this raid, and I had an even better time creating the video, if I'm completely honest. A lot of cinematics in there, a lot of cool music and stuff like that, so thoroughly enjoyed it. Once again, thank you very much to Manscaped for sponsoring today's video, and also, guys, if you want to vote for me in the Golden Gnomes, head down to the description. There will also be a link for that. Lots of links in the description today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video very, very soon. Take it easy.